So Gen before us had Galib Sahab. We used to say Galib kaha karte the, but this generation has Zakir Khan, if you all know. Yeah, we do. And Zakir कहते हैं कि उम्मीद से बड़ा और सोच से परे सोचते रहना चाहिए क्योंकि क्या पता ऊपर वाला देख रहा और तथास्तु कह दे. So Namaskara folk, this is Asmin. You're very curious and want to explore the world most. And we are here today at Analogy Studio for our very first season, very first episode of B2C, that is built to create by Analogy. And who else to have as our host for the first episode than Vyasateja and Divya themselves. They are the founders, advisors, HR, basically the mom and dad of Analogy. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you, it's me. Well said. Mom and dad is an analyst. It's true in every sense. Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Vyas. That very first question that comes up to anyone's mind, it is analogy. What is analogy? Why is analogy?
So I think when we started, right, we started as artifact design because when, like most founders do, the name just came up at like sometime in the middle of the night. I was reading an article which said design is about combine art and science together. So at that time there was no ChatGPT in 2015. So I was doing a couple of word associations and then, we ended up with art and fact, which is art and science together to combine Scout. And then we said, okay, artifact. And then I was telling that to Divya and then she also loved it and we loved the vibe of how it sounded. Yeah. So we started with the name artifact. But then later, 2018 onwards, we realized when we were starting a trademark process that there's already a lot of studios who are called Artifact. Right. So we did a little bit of a brainstorming session in-house. We did a little bit of a brand discovery sort of a thing in-house. And a lot of ideas came through, but most of them weren't really sounding genuine. It was not who we were and it was not very close to, what we actually did. And so during the whole brand session, one of our brand designers we used to do brand work at that time also when we started. But she just mentioned that, her name is Devika and fantastic designer. And she said why are we doing something else, right? And I was giving a lot of these analogies during the thing. I was telling them that why is this like this? It should be like this, right? So a lot of those came in through the session saying that I think we had one name that came in which was Design AF, which at that point of time I said Design AF to me sounds like, I'm trying I'm that school kid who's trying to be in the front of the drama and trying too hard, right? So we're trying too hard. So these type of things kept on happening throughout the session. At the end, everybody was super tired and frustrated and fed up and they were just like, why don't we just call it analogy? Right, because that's what you keep giving every single time. And we later discovered also that, and throughout our design process, we've always thought that, analogy is a great metaphor. So actually, there's a distinction between metaphors and analogies. Metaphors are very literal word-based stuff. But then, analogies are extremely fact-driven and also very visual and image-driven, right? They're very heavy with the imagery. And that's what we do on a daily basis. So a lot of times when you work on projects, we tell people that, hey, listen, it looks like this, or it makes you feel like this, right? Which is all analogies at that point, right? So that's how the name analogy came to sort of being. It's something I feel rooted in design, but a lot of people don't understand the concept of what analogy is. I mean, if you actually look, there's an Harvard paper also that's been beautifully written called Analogy by Design. So there's a lot of those thinking that actually started, but yeah, it basically stemmed from the fact that we wanted a very unique name that kind of summarized what we did. I'm sure, as you know, we don't take the typical double diamond innovation approach because a lot of it feels, kind of made up. But at the same time, we have adjusted and we have actually fine-tuned this process over almost a decade now to really reflect the kind of work that we do. So yeah, I think that was the start of how the game came about, and we rebranded in 2018, right? Or is it 2019?
Right, 2018.
2018.
Frankly speaking, Artifact was not even the first name. It was Aribo.
Oh yeah.
Arivu in Kannada means to know.
Yeah. So realize that,
To know. Arivu was the first name we came up with because it was very meaningful and in tune with what we wanted to do. But we realized the name Arivu was taken already by another design studio, but they were into clothing. But still, we didn't, want to be able to the same things. So when we came up here, I do that.
Yeah, and usually when this happens, there have been a lot of instances where I have not checked with her and I've gone ahead and it's never worked out. I don't know how it has happened so far, but every time it includes hires, includes names, it includes salary negotiations, I mean a whole bunch of things, and then I'm like, you know what, this is probably something that she'll probably not be interested in, and so I just go and make the decision and it never works out. So now we realize that we talk a lot about that and we make decisions.
So it's like mommy approval needed. So currently, his mom is no other. Yeah. So Divya, I would like to know from you. Well, now Vyas came to you with like, oh, I just want to start a design studio now. How was your reaction? Were you like, oh yeah, some adventure, or you were like, no man, not again, another idea popping up your brain?
No, actually, we were both up for it. We wanted to do this together. Actually, we are people who manifest things, so we envisioned this and we wanted to do this together, and we wanted us to be the best design studio in India and all over the world. We want people from outside India to approach us for good design. So we've always manifested this. So yeah, we were into this together. We've been on this journey together. There are no two words about this.
I'll tell you the backstory actually what happened. So we were in the US and we were just discussing how life had been. It was almost like close to 12 or 14 years since I was in the US. Divya joined me a little bit later. And we were talking one day in the evening. We had a very nice area of our apartment or house which overlooked the lake. And we had this really nice photo wall behind, which had a lot of fun memories and stuff like that. And we usually used to sit there. And that time, she drank tea, and I used to drink a lot of soda and stuff like that. That was gone. But we just sat there. We were talking about it. And we were thinking, obviously talking about work, talking about what we should do or so forth. And then she finally just said, what? Why are we doing this here? Right? If you just feel like we should start something, let's start something. And I don't know, I mean, we've always done decisions like this. We said, okay, fine, let's move. So we moved in less than 2 weeks. We had our luggage packed. I had my bikes, and I had one bike that I was taking back, and that got stolen a week before we left. And fortunately got it back also. I mean, the cop also that came in and said you're very lucky to get it back in one piece. Usually they just disassemble it and then it's all over the US. You never get it back. So we got it back, and she said, that's a sign, we should take it with us. And so we packed the bags, packed that bike, shipped it, and then we moved very quickly. I mean, it was almost, when was it? I think it was November
2012.
2012, right? So Divya moved back in 2012. I was still working with Solaris, so I had to go back and forth to the US, and it took me about 2.5 years to completely transition to it. But and then so that's when Arivu had just started. It was a consulting practice that we were doing. And, that is the time when we realized also that we just need to do this without taking too much of efforts, thinking, building a business plan, Excel sheets. Nothing. We just sat one evening, talked about it. And and without Divya by now, it would have been impossible to run an analogy or run anything. I feel like without a very supportive partner on the back end, right, it is impossible to do what we've done so far. I think every entrepreneur probably agrees with me on that one. There have been crazy times. I mean, I've traveled, crazy time. We worked really hard. Sometimes, 2, 3, sometimes I won't even come home. There have been instances where we worked throughout the day, sleep in the studio in the early days, not after that, but at the early days, we put in a whole bunch of effort. So, yeah, I think.
Crazy work.
Yeah, it was crazy work hours. And so, I think initial days, let's say Divya would have a little lesser workload time, but now after my daughter's born, she handles almost 2x of that workload. So that's why I keep saying this balance thing is never going to work. The work-life balance that a lot of people get confused with and frankly get disappointed and depressed is not really true. Because I feel work and life, you can't really have a balance. Sometimes work is more, sometimes life is more. Just need to grow.
So I want to know, like, there are lot of youngsters who are coming out today, and this is a lot of nuance. Gen Z going against the corporate. Gen Z is breaking 9 to 5, and all those things. But frankly saying, Gen Z is people who are like willing to explore. They are more of entrepreneurial people. They want to have business done. But again, with the same aspect, there's one more thing where people are, will build a startup, will make it huge, will sell it, and will go back to normal. But analogy is here since past 10 years now. You established in 2015, right? Right. So 10 years of business. What's the secret formula you guys have been brewing, and what's the mindset a person should have to have a long run business?
So we've had our ups and downs. It's not that it's always been smooth. But fortunately, we've been blessed with a good team ever since we started. And also we've been fortunate enough to work with some good clients who've given us some great work. So I think that's what's kept us going. So, but there have always also been times when we've not had work, and when we struggled, when we had these thoughts crossing our mind if we are if we have to continue or move on. But we didn't give up because we are passionate about this, and we want to keep doing this. So yeah, it's been a great journey actually.
Yeah. I think a few things that are very different is once we started doing the entrepreneurial journey, really didn't feel like, going back to a job. It just felt very different, right? I mean, yes, it is harder than a job because a job is much more reliable. You have your days planned out. You have no weekends to work on. You have your holidays. You take your leaves. But I think we found a very good balance between what we liked and what we wanted to. So I think number one, that once that comfort set in, I think 2 years was a little shaky and rocky in the start. Clients coming back and forth, pricing not working out. I mean, it took us almost 6 months to hire our first industrial designer because in India, the portfolios were not really up to the mark as the US when we came in 2015. And it took us a very long time to do that. Anvesha was the first hire that we had back in 2015. And we didn't really have a sob story, to be honest, to start with. Like most founders, we didn't start in a small garage or at home, take a loan, none of it. I mean, the first office we had was like 2,400, 2,600 square feet. Beautiful to last. I mean, amazing office, right? And we loved it, and we took our time there. So I think a few things were working out very well because all of our clients were from the US. We were earning really well when we started also. So unlike others or probably who saw like a very hard, reaching a certain point, we found it very early. So that gave us a lot of motivation to say that if you found this much this early, there's a whole lot more to discover. And India also was picking up at that time really well, right? Like, so new startups are coming up. There was a lot of interesting work that was happening on the design side and the product side versus just the US. We still had a majority of our work in the US happening, but India was picking up. So we knew that, okay, we just need to hold on. And if you look at most amount of entrepreneurs or studios or people who do it, they do a crazy run of the first 2 years, work like mad. right? And then eventually burn out in the third or fourth year and eventually just say, you know what, I will go back to a corporate job. One thing I feel we did really right was we paced it out extremely well, right? So first year, maybe we had like a 10% growth. Second year was like 15 or maybe 20% growth. It was not like you went from 100x, 10x to 100x in 1 year, right? Which is where I feel most startups totally sustain that. You can't sustain growth like that. Whether it's a personal journey, whether it's a personal salary or your business growth, there's no sustaining that high peaks, right? So for us, I think that worked. And then we had a lot of, it was sheer determination, to be honest. It was sheer determination to be and grit, saying that we want to build something, a different kind of a design practice in India for founders in India. But we go from India, building in India, designing India to the world overall. So our perspective is always global. We would never say that I would build things. So actually, if you look at a lot of design work that comes out of some of the usual things, you'll see that leaf-shaped button everywhere. This is very common in the 2015, 2018s. So we never saw it that way. We always said, like, if a German designer was doing things like this or a Japanese designer were doing things, would he have done the same thing, right? What is the meaning behind this shape and so on and so forth. So there were those times. I mean, to be honest, like Divya said, we have talked about shutting down maybe 6 or 10 times in the last 10 years. Every year we say like, this is crazy, we should shut this up, right? And those are things. But I think, yeah, that's one day, and the next day we just go like, you know what, let's
Text back and then let's reverse. Also, back then when we started, we didn't have as many design schools in India as we have today. So we have more talent in India today compared to what we had in 2015 when we started. Oh, yeah. So that way we are also blessed with good people coming to work with us. That's made our life a lot more easier to sustain in this industry.
Yeah, I think the team is super important. I mean, we've always been able to attract really good talent. People who come and work with us have gone on to do great things. You know, for example, Kshitij heads up Boat at, heads up design at Boat right now. And, you know, there are a lot of other people who moved on to the US, Sushant at Noble, and then a couple of people have moved out to Singapore. So a lot of good people have come in, passed through, and, you know, kind of moved on to do really good, interesting things. So I think our messaging of what analogy is and the way we want to do work and the way we want to do design and products, I guess differentiated that. And we got a lot of interesting talent wanted to come, and we still get that. Like, we still have the community where a lot of people want to work with us. It's really nice. But like Divya said, I think a lot more schools are there now. So it's getting harder by the day to kind of distinguish who we should hire, who we should not hire. And we've always wanted to remain a small team. We'd never thought of, you know, because I feel that if the faster you build a larger team, the quality of work will
Come down.
We get into a commoditized business because you have to sustain that large team. You take up whatever project comes to mind. And it just becomes money at some point of time, which I think I've seen a lot of agencies do that. So we've never, you know, gone past the 30 mark in terms of hiring people. We want to keep it very specialized. I always say this, I've said this in many talks, is I believe the team should be like a, you know, like a special forces team, like very large and very wide horizontal skill sets. And each person has a very deep vertical skill set. And this drives a lot of the kind of things that we do. The one thing I've been extremely good at so far is building really good teams and holding those teams together, right? And building design cultures rather than just teams. So whether it has been my previous experiences in the US, whether when I was leading design at Solaris, the one thing I knew how to do was build very good teams. So identifying the right people, kind of guiding them to do the right kind of things, having a design vision on what should be done, right? And I think one of the biggest things missing in India right now is that, where people don't have the vision of what should be built. It's more like I'll experiment, or nothing did this, why don't we do this? Apple did this, why don't we do this? Or somebody else. So more following rather than leading. So I think people who have very good design visions would look at it in a very different way, build systems, build languages, and kind of look at a very high level view rather than an execution level view, right? So I think that is what's been driving us also so far in the last 10 years, not to I mean, we've had multiple acquisition offers come our way, but the reason why we've not, kind of said yes to any of those is we still feel there's a lot of work to be done with set. So that's where I feel now that I've moved on to start co-found EDT with Naya. Divya has taken over things here as an energy. But the fact that nothing has changed, whether it's in terms of our work quality. Of course, we've become a bit more mature in the way we've driven design. You won't see the typical rendering / sketch things that we used to put up as a young studio. And it's become a little bit more mature because we do a lot more of different projects, the kind of projects, the scale of projects has changed. We've got more responsible leadership coming in, people with a lot more experience, right? So that has changed a lot, but I still feel there's a lot of work to be done because I feel that India is still not a design capital of the world. So until that happens, I feel our job of running an energy should cut.
Also, now a lot of students are taking up design because it is trending, not because they want to do good work. I feel students now do think that they'll get paid more if they do this particular course, but we want to change that. Don't take up design just because it's trending or just because you can make more money. Take up design as a course if you really want to do some good work.
You guys have mentioned so many things. I have multiple questions lined up on my head right now. But let's go step by step. India is a very versatile country. May it be with people, state, culture, everything. If you go to, you go to Gujarat, you have different kind of dressing, you have different kind of artifacts that are going around. If you come to South India, you have all kind of different design, colors popping in. Worldwide, if we go, the amount of versatility in design that is present in India, we would not find it out. Yet you made a statement that India is still not a design capital. And you mentioned that there are a lot of people who are taking up this career. So there are three very contradictory statements made, but all of them are fact. How do you align all of it together?
See, I think the fact that India has so much diversity is also contributing to the uniqueness, or let's say the singularity of what India has as design, right? We've always been a country that celebrated different cultures, religions, practices, and rituals, which I think has still continued. I mean, if you actually look at, and a lot of people, the reason why I say this is a lot of people also make the mistake of confusing art for design, right? Let's say it could be folk art, you have the Madhubani paintings, or in Karnataka you have the Ganjifa paintings, which my aunt used to do. She was a national award winner there. Or you have the Raja Ravi Verma style of paintings, right? If you look at that, there is no comparison to anybody else in the world. Even if you take the whole Renaissance era, there's no comparison to how much actual art has been developed in India. And being one of the oldest civilizations in the world, there is no comparison, to be honest. But I feel design is entirely different, and that's where people, it's like comparing apples to oranges, because you're just really not comparing the right thing. So if you look at design is a little bit more universal, right? It's not art. A lot of people will say, like, you know what, I've studied art, I know what I'm telling you, but it's not actually that. I mean, art is very it's driven by the point of view of an artist, right? Whereas a designer cannot put his point of view out. He has to look at a wider subset of people who he is designing for. Like, I could be designing for, just for people who are above 45 and who have a certain ergonomic issue, and that's the reason why I'll be designing for that, right? So we have to look at a larger subset. So when I made the statement that it's still not the design capital of the world, what I meant also was that we don't have that singular aspect of what it is. So if you look at, let's say, a Scandinavian design philosophy, right, you will see almost white wood, like very nice lighter wood. You'll see a lot of white in their furniture, in their designs, in their homes, which we loved. We say how clean it is and how beautiful it is. And then we put a formica sheet on our furniture, which has like 1,000 different textures and things like that. I don't think it's wrong. A lot of people think that, oh, it's bad, this compared to Scandinavian thing, ours looks very cheap, right? It's not, because if you understand the context, there's very little sunlight in Scandinavia. So that's why they use a lot of white, because white, it reflects a lot of sunlight. And the lighter wood, again, complements that sort of thing. So, but for us, I feel it will take a lot of time, because we don't have a singular design language in India that represents India. I don't think it can actually be possible also, because we are a sort of like a, you know, a culture of people that has evolved from, I don't know, like tens of thousands of years. And we have colors that signify different things in different contextual things. Certain festivals, red is great. Some sub-festivals, black is good, some is not. So there's a lot of contextual meaning that keeps on happening on a daily basis. I mean, the foods, if you look at how the thali is placed, there's a way to eat from one end. It also signifies the circle of life, or how it actually starts and ends, right? Also very important, a lot of nutritionists these days will say, eat your veggies first. It's very good for your gut. But if you actually look at the traditional, the leaf, banana leaf food, the first things that you get put is all the vegetables, right? You eat that. Then you come and they give you the payasam first, which actually kind of prepares your gut. It tells that you know, hey, start digesting food. It's coming your way. So there's smell, I mean, you know, there's heat, there's so many things. It's an extremely complicated culture. So I think it'll take time. I mean, even for us, if you ask me today, what exactly is Indian design? I don't know. I don't think anybody has been able to figure that out, right? Just looking at an auto or calling Jugaad Indian design, I don't think is the right statement. It's not, to be honest, it's not. So in that context, I feel we still have a lot of self-discovery to make as a culture in terms of what design is for us as Indians. I've done a lot of talks on how, let's say, other brands from outside of India have come in. They've just kept a price as the only thing, and they've sold products, and has never worked out. There have been large corporations which have left India because they just focused on price, right? So yes, India is a price-sensitive market, but if you give a good enough reason for Indians to buy, they'll spend how much ever money they'll spend it. If you look at Indian weddings, who the world will actually, except for Jeff Bezos, match that, right? Then average Indian spends more money than anybody else outside of India. So there are things that are very unique here, and there are things that actually work in a different context. But I still feel there's a lot of discovery that we have to do as a nation, as a culture, to kind of define what design is for us.
I feel there's no value for good design in India.
Yeah, true, right? Oh, yeah.
And people are not willing to pay for good design. That's what.
But see, I think the issue there is not just people don't understand what good design is. They lack the education.
Yeah,
of
the
what
awareness
design
is not there yet.
And then also people think that just because the way people in India have been doing traditional businesses, they think also design is done in that way. It's true. It's true to a certain extent. I still feel a lot of agencies or studios run it like a traditional business where, you know, you only look at, okay, this is how much I'll make in a year. So I have to make this much profit, so I'll do this many projects, right? Whereas that's the equation that we flipped when we started Analogy. Was we never said that, okay, we will take only this many. We didn't start with an Excel sheet. So we said that, you know what, let's take out the best quality work. Always it would be like, okay, let's solve interesting problems. Again, we know that, you know, the traditional industries, like let's say a fat or a kitchen appliance or a home appliance, right? They do refreshes every year. I mean, that industry, you can make a lot of money if you continue to keep up with it. But when we started, we purposefully didn't want to get into it, because then we're not really solving interesting problems at that point of time. So we took up, like, let's say deep tech or IoT or smart things, or maybe even the very first project early in the days we did was if Joel is listening somewhere, I'm sure he'll accept. We did a AR pop-up map for a real estate company which sold real estate. So all you would do is when the person comes in, they look at the instead of looking at models of the property, all they're given is a map. You open up the map and you just scan it with your phone, that the building would come up in a 3D model AR. It'll turn around, it'll tell you what the weather is, there's clouds, there's schools around, this is how close, this is how traffic is. So we've always thought of interesting ways to sell design. Unfortunately, I think we're doing the podcast in a good time. We've never marketed what good design is also so far. So I think it has taken us 10 years to kind of find the courage that we should do something like this also. So I think good time. Yeah, that's the other issues.
So Divya, you are the HR head at Analogy. Everyone has a different definition of everything they have in their life, okay? So for me, if I want something that is bright, it might not be related to color, it might be related to the reflection how it is away. But for someone else, if I ask them, if they say they want something bright, they might be considering it as a color. So with different perspective, every definition changes. As you guys mentioned in the initial days, the struggle that stereotypical struggle which we all say was not there, but you still had a lot of challenges in the journey. As a HR person, what is the difference back in those days while hiring and finding, in such a huge market where there is this industry is very new and very less of known things about this industry, and today where there are lined up people waiting for please do you have an opening, we are interested, this is my resume. What is the difference you feel is in the market as well as in the quality of people that are coming out?
Yeah, I want to reiterate what you just said. Back then, we didn't have many design graduates. So, we had to, really struggle to find good talent and then interview a lot of people. And then, we would interview about 20 and then we would pick one designer. But now it's not so. We have a lot of people graduating from design schools. We are flooded with profiles and portfolios every single day, and there's a lot of good talent and there are a lot of good portfolios. So now to pick the best one among all the best portfolios is the challenge right now. So we try to do our best. Our design team tries to pick the best portfolios so that we constitute a great team.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Also, I would like to ask is that when we are having this process of, HR interviews and everything, if we go to a general 9 to 5 job interviews, there is a very fixed framework that we all follow irrespective of the industry. So they'll, what they're going to ask, you are somewhere prepared. But being at Analogy, a design studio, this is a completely different structure. What questions you would be asking, what kind of mindset the person should walk in with is completely different from what we are already told. As a layman, I have no idea what design questions are. Maybe you would be asking what is the dimension of the object I'm holding, or maybe it will be completely different, like tell me the shade of this color, which even I might not know at all. So what kind of different mindsets you have seen or you commonly see while people come into the interviews?
See, first of all, we want to tell the people who come for interviews that this is not a 9 to 5 job or a 9 to 6 job, because this is a creative world. And you don't know when, creativity flows. So it could be like in the afternoon or in the evening or in the night or early morning. So, we want to change that mindset that, I come in at 9 and leave at 6. It's not possible that way. You can't work like that in a creative industry. We have to, people who come with an attitude that, 6 o'clock I want to leave, it doesn't work that way here. So that is one thing that has to be changed.
And we see over the years we perfected this sort of a recruitment thing also. When we initially started, it was very typical like how we did because we all came from corporate worlds and so on and so forth. So we did the same round of videos. We would do like a HR round, and then we would do like a portfolio presentation round, and then finally do an in-person interview or by. I think that has changed quite a lot. And we have something called a no asshole policy at the LGs, where a singular person is not to create an entity. So however talented that person is, if he is not really, kind of matching up with the team or is not really working with the team, then that person has to go, no matter what. Right? So that is something that we've followed very rigorously so far. We've taken a lot of hard decisions in the last 10 years. some fantastic people have come and gone by, but that has always kept the overall team dynamics extremely well. We've also graduated to doing a lot more behavioral questions than straight up questions, right? Like, for example, the ones that you were asking, tell me the color of this object, or something that you could probably Google AI that quickly and get in, versus a behavioral question where we give them a scenario and you then understand or relate to what the person is talking about. So, for example, very important for us is, okay, design skills are important. For example, if basic skills like being able to do CAD very quickly, right? Not just looking at YouTube tutorials all the time, because our clients don't give us the luxury of that. We need to deliver fast, and a lot of people, founders, they want to move fast. But, and also visualization, right? I wouldn't just say rendering, I would say presentation, overall aesthetics around how to compose a page, how to actually present an idea to a client in the best way possible, the least effort possible. So everything, people think that creative industries are not very efficient. We are super efficient in that. We know exactly how to get the best work out of a certain person, how to present something very well to a client. So it helps them understand, which is also part of how the name analogy comes to being, right? It's very personal to each client, each project. So it's such a way we look at a very good, like the way I was saying, the attitude is very important for us. Number one is attitude and mindset. You really want to change like the status quo design, or you want to do something really interesting. Ambition is something we look for very much in every person that we work with, whether it is in-house, external, something. Like if you're saying, like, okay, I just come and do this. Thanks. Yeah, that does not work that way. It doesn't fit our ethos as a studio. It doesn't really work that way. So we don't get into that much of this thing. I feel skills can eventually be taught. A lot of people are very talented there. Basic skills, if a person has, if they have drive, ambition, and the need to move quick and launch something rather than sit and design for 2 years. Yeah, that is probably what we push for.
You're not for a work-life balance, but also, people should understand that 9 to 6 will not work, and, there has to be a balance there. We would have to be flexible.
Moving on to our next question. As you guys are discussing about interviews and HRs, apart from the designers, which is or actually the core of everything, so how do you, take up people apart from designers for the team, and why is it necessary to have people apart from just designers?
The support team is as important as the design team, because support team is like, 4 pillars of the building. So without a good support team, none of us can function. So hiring the right support team is as important as hiring a good design team as well. We pick the support team also in the same way that we pick the design team. What matters most is the right attitude.
Yeah, I think, if you look at this, right, like a lot of people have not been able to crack the whole pricing strategy. We also are not, I wouldn't say we're perfect at that, but I think once we got the right operation people on board, so there is a whole section of work that gets done in very large studios and agencies called design ops, which is design operations, right? Which involves all these things like onboarding a client and making sure, because it's not, a lot of people think that, people just pay because they're 10 years in business. So most young designers or people, entrepreneurs who are just starting out, they think that the reason why a lot of these big agencies or studios get paid more is because they have the pedigree, or they've been around for 10 years, they have a legacy, they've done enough work. But it's actually, to be honest with you, what we've discovered, it's not just that. It's the way you talk to a client. It's like how much of attention you're giving to that person, how quickly you reply to those emails, how you onboard a client, right? When they need something, how quickly you're responding. And the reliability and also the reassurance that you give the client is super important. All of this cannot be done by the designer. So it's very essential to have a support team, whether it is you in marketing, or let's say Malolam with ops, or let's say Sundar doing project management, right? Very, very important. And project management is probably one of the biggest things for any service-based organization. If you are continuously delaying work, nobody hikes that. Right? We can give 1,000 excuses saying that it's creative work, we can't really put a price on this or this. But at the end of the day, everything works in timelines. We can't launch a product when, for example, during a festive season coming up, we don't launch. You're losing crores of piece, right? And it's very hard for founders to take that sort of loss. So support teams are very important. I think a lot of studios have not grown because they've not had the right kind of support teams. So we like Divya said, we've always kept the same yardstick measurement for supporting people that we have for designers. Attitude, drive, and ambition is very important, right? So even the reason why your interview is 15 minutes is we could figure out, that you are somebody who's very driven and motivated by doing something.
Like in 15 minutes, you were ready to take the interview. So that's your key. Really,
I was just like, okay, instead of having summer vacation, let's have an winter vacation.
And to be honest with you, a lot of people in your age group should be doing that because it's not the time to cuddle up by a fireplace and read a book, right? You should be taking a lot more risk. You should be trying out different experiences. And it's tough. It's not easy. The very first experience, it's like saying that, oh, you know what, I'll find the ideal person and marry him in a very dreamy wedding. No, you have to experience stuff.
when you call someone a candidate for interview and you ask them, will you be ready to give an interview in 15 minutes? And if they say yes, that's a litmus test. If you're ready to give an interview in 15 minutes, that means you're on top of your game. You're not worried about giving the interview because you don't need preparation. You're on top of it. So that is the litmus test.
Okay, so coming to the thing of what industrial design is, we are analogy, the design studio. What does it really mean? Like, is it like you design something for the industry, like, you design the huge base for the industry, like factories or stuff, or do you design interiors, or what kind of thing basically design means, or specifically industrial design means?
Industrial design, I feel, there are very standard definitions in Wikipedia and everywhere that you look up, right? But industrial design is the design of physical objects, basically. And it's one of the oldest professions. I mean, probably architecture, we'd say, is the father of all designers. But industrial design is a close second. The reason it's called industrial design also, I mean, actually, even till now, a lot of people have asked me, do you design factories? Do you design industries? Because it's called industrial design. A lot of people also confuse it for industrial engineer, which is what I think Divya majored in, right? So that is actually figuring out plant layouts and efficiencies within actual factories and industries. But industrial design is totally different from all of that. And a lot of people, even in my family, have told me that, hey, industrial design, when I tell them, it's like, oh, okay, so do you do CAD? Or is it mechanical design? Which again, it's not. Right? And I wanted to start with what it's not, because these are the common myths and misconceptions around industrial design. So if I had to define industrial design is the design of physical objects, keeping in mind the user, because the industrial design, I feel, is the sole person who is the user champion, who understands the actual pain point of the user, what is the things that we have to solve, the user journey of what he does and he or she does from a daily basis, how much would they want to see the object. So a lot of people also, I've worked with brand and marketing teams who think like, why don't we make this extremely colorful? But what an industrial design would do different is do you think every day if I look at this color that person would actually like it, right? So they really understand the psychology of the user. I feel the industrial design, but is extremely driven by psychology of understanding for another person, putting yourself in their shoes, and then designing to solve everyday problems, right? A lot of people would just say industrial design is CAD, manufacturing, this, that. It's not. It's honestly driven towards the absolute needs of the user. And I would also say a little bit of market understanding of where their opportunity is. Nowadays, I mean, and it's not bad, industrial design is actually very commercial. A lot of people would say that I want to do industrial design for the welfare of the society. I have never agreed to that, because I feel industrial design was a commercial thing that started in the Industrial Revolution, where before, if you had to get a really nice object made, whether it was a working desk for you, then you hired an artist. That artist came to your house. He bought very specific wood and very specific paint, left his own signature on the desk or something, and which sold for millions of dollars later. But it was able to be afforded by the very rich and very, extremely wealthy people in society. When the Industrial Revolution started, people wanted to take the art form and then put it out to the masses. Right? So that's when mass production started. People started figuring out how to create the same thing for a lot of people with the same quality levels. So if you actually look at it, industrial design is very commercial. But even these days, I feel a lot of industrial design has moved towards generating novelty type of objects, right? Very bright and in your face. I mean, just like what the social media apps do, grabbing your attention. But that's not timeless. That doesn't last. There's a reason why you throw away your mosquito pad every 2 months. Of course, the battery dies and all the other things. But even as an object, you really don't care about it. It's something that's lying there, right? So an industrial, I would say, if you have to really define it, industrial design goes through all of these different things, understands the psyche of a user, make sure that the right needs, unmet needs are actually solved. Problems that they have, frustrations that they have. A lot of people really don't give attention to like a button, or maybe there's a sharper edge around a button, or there's no texture around a button, or industrial design, right? So to be honest, every single object in your life on a daily basis that is touched, has been touched by an industrial design. Some designer has designed it, and then eventually it has ended up within your hand. Like the bottle you're drinking from, the mug, the chair you're sitting on, the desk that you're working on, the tripods that we're shooting this, the cameras that shooting is, everything, the mic, in fact, I was speaking, everything has been designed by industrial design. So, and also I feel industrial design is the most underrated, most inconspicuous profession in the world. Because nobody knows what it is. The pen you write, the ring you wear, right? The watch you wear, even the glasses, everything is designed by industrial design. Right? Yet a lot of, I have seen product companies placing very little emphasis on the products that they actually sell versus actually putting up a very high marketing budget. Right? They could have like a 5 crore marketing budget, but then they say like, okay, let's design this in 5 lakhs. So I feel that's where the priorities need to change, right? But the definition of industrial design is exactly that.
In a nutshell, it's eye for detail.
Yeah.
A lot of eye for detail, a lot of attention to detail.
Based on what I understand from your saying and being here, I have not here like for so long that I gotta say, but even in this span of 2 to 3 months, what I understand is it's a lot of human touch.
Yes.
In every aspect possible. It's more of a psychological, degree than a psychological degree itself, because you have to study, understand the user. Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of aspect that goes behind it. It's not just about the sketch, which I realized recently, because if you go out and speak to people, it's like, design what is you draw, you sketch, that's it. But there's an entire thing from sketch to CAD to prototypes to having it ready for the manufacturing, that is for the factories, and then it comes out to the product. So there's a lot of lack of awareness and there is a lot of misconceptions that goes around these underrated industries.
100%. Yeah, I think industrial design, I think you rightfully summarized it, that starting of the idea to sketch is heavily missing these days. And then also the far end of it, which is the manufacturer to actually producing it, is where industrial designers are completely absent, which is the reason why you see a lot of bad objects, bad products being designed. Because there are people who are sitting and designing at their desk. They're not going outside talking to people, right? Like that's the only reason why we never have a work from home thing at analogy, is because if you can't talk to people, how are you going to understand who the user is? How are you understanding their pain points? Have you seen them use the product ever? Right. And if all of these are not going to happen, if you're not at the factory at the end, some engineer, how are you going to blame that guy? He's going to make whatever's easy and whatever's fast. So that's where I feel like industrial designers, and also one very interesting thing these days is, like, I see a lot of portfolios, a lot of students, they just do one phase which is called research. And after that they stop. Research starts at the start and goes on all the way till the product is launched, because you do research in different stages also. Like you'll do research to understand the user. Maybe when you're sketching, you research how the pain points are. When you're doing CAD, you research something else. You'll research about technology. You'll research how to integrate certain things within it, right? And then you go to production, you research about what are the new production techniques, what new materials are used. So nothing stops, but you staggering it into a waterfall process of I'll do this after this after this is a very traditional mistake that a lot of people do coming from other industries. A lot of people who've had experience with Scrum, with Agile workflows, right? Try to design a physical product, it is similar. So you can't run a 2-week sprint and expect something to happen. Because sometimes in 2 weeks nothing happens, and the next week you'll have a month's work of work getting done in one shot. Right? So industrial design is very different in that regard. The design of physical products is extremely big.
To make it simple, it is about understanding the end user. For example, if you are designing something for toddlers, you have to keep in mind that toddlers like things colorful, and it should not have small parts that they can swallow that will cause choking hazard, and it should not have sharp edges. So if you understand the end user, you will be able to do a good work. So that's what industrial design is all about.
Continuing with you, Divya, since we have mentioned that we produce different kind of products, the physical everyday products, but definitely a student is not going to come to you and say, hey, I need a desk. They'll go and shop it. So who are these people who come to you saying that the industry or the market is in the require of this product, and I am here to get this build up? So who are these people, basically who are the clients that come up, and how do you recognize them?
So the clients who approach us are usually a mix of first-time founders as well as seasoned founders. These people are someone who are having some genuine problem to solve, who approach us with, products to be designed.
Yeah, so generally, just to continue what Divya just mentioned, right? Many founders have different problems in their journey. So sometimes there'll be founders who just come up with an idea and they want to understand whether this is going to work in the market or not, which is why we do a lot of work on the market validation side. A lot of founders, every founder is very ambitious and they want to get to market very quick, right? So the very early days, they make a lot of mistakes. And we also have. It's not that I'm saying that we're perfect in that way, but every founder has. And through that, we try to help them validate their ideas, whether it is a good idea, whether somebody else has done this. Is it unique enough? Can you actually differentiate this from somebody else in the market? That is the first thing that we do. But then there are founders who probably would have validated all of that, but they don't have a concept or a product that looks and feels and comes out extremely nice at the end, right? So, for example, somebody who approached us recently said, we wanted to design AI classes, right? Which a lot of people have already done it. But what is the differentiation here with this product is what we actually have come up. And then you have founders who probably would have the concept, would have validated the market, have a concept, have an idea, would have reached somewhere in the development journey working with a couple of freelancers, and they'd come in and then say that, I don't understand if I can go to manufacturing with this. Right? Because mostly, if you don't design with a lens of manufacturing from day one, you're literally going back and starting from scratch. There's no coming back from that mistake. So that is the other type of clients that come to us, where we help them understand that this is what you should do in manufacturing and so on and so forth. And the last one is probably like a mix of all three and just wants to go to market very quickly, right? So a lot of crowdfunding founders who come to us work with that sort of a thing. And they have very different requirements. Some people will say, can you help me refine the idea? Some will say, can you help me 3D render this? So I did build my lag at PHPC. So these are the type of people that come in. But like Divya said, I think the way we pick clients that we want to work with, there are three main criteria that we have for picking clients. Number one is that client should understand and respect the design process. They should understand that
the timelines.
This is not something that is a very quick sort of a thing. I mean, the work that we do is actually very quick. If we can finish something in 4 to 5 months, in the physical world, it's extremely quick, right? At the same time, we also expect that the person who comes in also understands and respects the people in the team that's working with it. Just because we're sitting in India doesn't mean that, we'll just say yes to everything. The reason why, let's say a client works with us is not because they want to get exhibition lab. They want a solution to that problem. So internally also the team will be they'll definitely advise on saying that, okay, this is what you should do with things like that. And we've been very fortunate to get that type of clients. And then the last thing that we look at a ideal client for us is making sure that they understand that developing physical products is not, I wouldn't say expensive, but it requires a certain investment, right? You can't just say that I have only this much money, made it up. It just doesn't work that way because the ecosystem is built in such a way where physical products take a lot of time, testing is required, certifications are required, manufacturing is required. We probably have to do 5 to 6 different prototypes before it gets perfect. A lot of that has to be funded, right? So these are the 3 main criteria we didn't follow for you, what anybody is.
Looking towards it as the ending part, we could say that the industrial design is a very, very vast thing, which is yet to be spread awareness about in the entire, field, and especially to the very fresh outcoming students and very fresh outcoming founders too. Because there is a large gap that we can see in today's world where, founders are not aware where to go, what to look for. Even the students are not aware what do they do next, and, all those things. So hopefully we, through our podcast, that's what our main agenda is looking forward to hereafter, that we are having that gap bridged completely. And I would like to ask you, what do you think like the present of industrial design is, and what is the future of industrial design?
So I feel industrial design at the moment right now is going through a big sort of like a revamp because of AI coming in. There's a huge amount of changes that are actually happening. A lot of industrial designers are not adopting AI, to be honest, very quickly. I don't know why the resistance is there. It drives a lot of options, iterations, makes life easier. Like I see a lot of people using just image generators on the AI side, but they're not really looking at maybe writing a better brief through ChatGPT or doing better market research through some of these AI tools. The future of what industrial design is going to become will heavily be geared a lot of simple tasks and simple skills. Like if you go to Fiverr and say, give me a 3D rendering thing, which somebody would do for $500 or $600. I think this is going to get point out. All of these very commodity tasks and very menial tasks, repetitive tasks will just be gone. Which I think is extremely good for industrial design because from day one, industrial design is an extremely intellectual discipline. You have to really think, right? So I don't think human intervention is ever going to go away from industrial design. I don't believe it because at the end of the day, the AI is still learning from stuff that we have created, and whether it's on the websites or whether it's somewhere else. So I feel that is the future of industrial design. But I feel like, for example, we've been redoing our website. And the ease at which we've been generating imagery and things like that to showcase the ideas we've come up with, and great ideas. So I feel very excited about the future because then you're spending more time in refining the idea rather than sitting doing the CAD or rendering, which took up a lot of time with the project. Right? So I think the ideas are going to get better. The integration with technology is going to get better. That will probably be the future of it. And then a lot of sensor-based work is going to come. So we are also driving a lot of that with EVT right now, where we're developing stable tech platforms, stable tech devices. Similarly, I think the future of industrial design is just that. And I feel it's a very good thing also. I don't think it's a bad. Any dystopian future, we don't have to imagine. It's actually nice and right.
We want Analogy to be at the intersection of design, technology, and sustainability. We want to grow Analogy to be the most influential, industrial design studio in Asia. And, we want people to approach us not just for the quality of our work, but also for the way we think and do things. Last but not the least, we want designers to come here to do their best work.
Yeah, it's actually that. We want the best of the best. And I think, that's always been the goal. Great delivery, great people having fun, working together. And that's the culture also we want to.
Correct.
So I think the reason why we started this podcast, it took us 10 days to do this, but one of the main reasons is that we want to drive a lot more education and awareness in the founder community. We've seen so many good ideas, but executed badly because there was no emphasis on design. So I would highly recommend founders and others to just go through this. Maybe I should not say that, or we could do that. Go through this podcast, because we can deliver a lot of different experiences. We'll also be bringing other design founders, as well as people that we have worked with and driven greater success in terms of launching physical products and also creating large brands. So definitely let's do this together.
And also to bring India to the design forefront. That is like most important. And we being Indians, we want to give back to the Indian society. So that is our main motivation.